Today, some critics of Obamacare are pointing out that the unions now complaining are the same folks who helped to sell this bill to the American people. Leslie Marshall joins me now, syndicated radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor, and Chris Plante is host of The Chris Plante Show. And the two of them have been helping us keep track of the rollout of health care and the overhaul that's underway, and we welcome them back. Good to have you both with us.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Chris. Why don't we go to you first? Weigh in on the possibility of what Jim Angle was talking about here, this issue about the Cadillac tax and basically pushing a lot of these costs onto employees and putting them in a situation where they're going to have to pay a much higher deductible before they get any benefits.
Well, President Obama famously said a couple of years ago that he wants to punish his enemies and reward his friends. It looks like he's going to punish his friends, too. This thing is described as a train wreck by its Democrat author in the Senate. It's a debacle. It's a catastrophe. It's a calamity. They have to destroy the healthcare system in order to save it. It doesn't accomplish what it set out to accomplish. It sort of ruins everything for everyone. If you have your healthcare plan and you like it, you can keep it, President Obama said. He didn't say you're going to have to pay a 40% tax on it, and that includes you guys in the unions that are providing the street muscle for me and getting this passed and pressuring members of Congress. These are the people, they were the ground troops for the Obama administration in getting this thing passed, and now they want nothing to do with it. And basically, they're looking for an exemption for themselves and their friends, and they want somebody else to pay for it. They don't want what was passed here. It was a bill of goods. Nobody read it. Nancy Pelosi famously said, you've got to pass the bill to find out what's in it. Now people are gradually finding out what's in it. And, okay, pre-existing conditions is a good idea. That's about a 2-page bill. The rest of it is a catastrophe.
It is it's amazing, Leslie, when you go all the way back to the passage of this and the Cornhusker bill, release from exemption rather, and all of these things down the line. Members of Congress seeking exemptions, different states seeking exemptions. Now you've got unions seeking exemptions. It's like, well, if it's so, if everybody wants to be exempt from it, where does the argument that it's going to work or that it's a good thing in the end, where does that go?
Well, the argument that it's a good thing in the end, I think, still holds. And Chris, I won't go back on vacation. As I said, if Chris says you got to read it to know what's in it, I'm leaving and going back on vacation. But I won't, because I love Martha so much, and you too,
Thank
Chris.
you.
But seriously, it is a good thing in the long run. The bottom line is this is not just about politics, although we love to make it, and quite frankly, not even about Obama. Insurance companies have been increasing their premiums on corporations and on individuals for decades, regardless of a Democrat or Republican was in office. During the last 4 years of the Bush administration, I looked, because I own a medical center, so I'm an employer, own a company, but I'm also a person who has health care and I have children, et cetera. So I pay in two senses, as an employer and as an employee. My insurance with Blue Cross, Anthem Blue Cross in California, was increased prior to Barack Obama even running for president 6 times in the last 4 years of George W. Bush's administration. Nothing to do with President Bush. This really has to do with the insurance companies and what they've gotten away with far too long. So in the end, we are, in a sense, I'm hoping in the future, having more legislation, don't faint, Chris, that will reel in, which I think the true Affordable Care Act, if it had been passed in its original form, would have done. And in the end, we have more people who have preventative care and being covered, and that is best for the health of this nation, physically and financially.
Go ahead,
what
Chris.
might have been. Well, I mean, look, what might have been if only we had passed a different bill, then we'd have, a different bill to talk about. That's great. My insurance rates, I get Blue Cross, I self-insure, gone up 30% under Barack Obama. I don't know how many times, but it's gone up 30%. So and blaming the insurance industry is also absurd, especially when Democrats refuse to talk about tort reform, a nasty Washington term. That means that Barack Obama's friends in the Trial Lawyers Association are suing too often, and that's a huge part of the problem with premiums going up, and Democrats refuse to address that. Look, it's not George Bush, it is Barack Obama, it's Barack Obama's legislation, it's Democrat legislation. Nobody that got their shoulder behind it wants anything to do with it at this point. I don't know how many lessons we need in this thing before we realize that we've got to repeal it and start over again with some common sense
that's part of what this talk of HSAs is about, and health savings accounts and alternatives, and a lot of people putting pressure on conservatives saying, look, you got to come up with a better plan if you're going to knock this one. So we'll see. We'll talk about it again. Chris, thank you. Leslie, thank you. Good to have you both here
Thanks,
as always.
Martha.
Thank you.
Thanks.